What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to episode number 32 today of the My Player Career Mode. We have a great episode for you all to enjoy today, so grab yourselves your favourite drink and snack, come back and get ready to watch Ben in action. So, as you know, we had a training ground bust up last episode with Toby Alderweireld. We were waiting to see what punishment he would get from the Spurs board, and that is the email that popped into his inbox today. It says, "Dear Ben, we have discussed at length the incident that occurred in training a few days ago. The board have agreed that a 5-match ban is a fair punishment for the incident. We hope this shows that you how serious we take this sort of thing here at Spurs. Make sure it doesn't happen again. The ban will begin after the upcoming game against Arsenal and end after 5 games have been played. This counts for all games in all competitions." So if that semi-final against Burnley falls into play with those next 5 games after the Arsenal game, then he will be missing that one against Burnley. So I have to hope that it doesn't, otherwise he's going to potentially not be making an FA Cup final, depending on if the rest of the lads in the team can get the job done. So without further ado, we're going to get into game number 1. And let me say this, guys. This has probably been one of my more favourite episodes to record in this series so far. I personally think this might be the best episode we've had so far. There's just so much that goes on. The drama, the tension, the roller coaster of emotions. You guys will have to wait and see what I am talking about. We're about to embark on the second leg of the Europa League against Arsenal, guys. If you missed yesterday's episode, you won't know what happened. But to catch you all up, we did play against Arsenal in the last episode at Wembley, and it ended up being Arsenal who won the game by a goal to 0. They ended up scoring, I think it was Alexis Sanchez with a goal, and that's what caused a little bit of a tension between Alderweireld and between Wood. And then it kind of spiraled into training. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it's all sorted now. They both start this game here, as Ben will be starting, of course, his suspension after that. The club didn't decide to suspend Alderweireld. They felt that, of course, it was Ben who instigated it, and that's the reason why. And in many ways, I can kind of understand that. So, yeah, it made a little bit more sense in that aspect of it. You know, if Ben's instigating it by making sarcastic comments when it was a, fair challenge. I don't know. We haven't seen the clip, so we don't know. But certainly speaking, Ben has been given a ban. And in terms of Alderweireld, he wouldn't have been told whether or not any disciplinary action had been taken against the centre-back. So Spurs leave that to the players themselves and try and have like kind of a, I guess you could say, you know, you just want to have it between the players, not between a lot of people. Do you know what I'm saying? So this game against Arsenal, guys, of course, a North London derby. It's going to be filled with challenges galore, with a lot of passion and stuff. And this is the first major challenge that goes in, and it was on Ben. And again, it was nowhere near the ball, but the referee somehow deemed that as completely fine. And then the next one that comes up is absolutely atrocious. It's on Ben again. This time it's Hector Bellerin. The referee does play advantage this time and eventually goes back to book Hector Bellerin. But Ben didn't even have the ball when he was taken out there. So clearly, a game plan from Arsenal is to attack Ben and try and make it so he gets frustrated. But he plants one of his own there on Mohamed El Neni in the 42nd minute. And there's just tackles galore going in, guys. Honestly, the challenges that came in this game were so big. There were some horrendous tackles in there as well. So Ben booked for that tackle on Mohamed El Neni. But as the second half got underway, what a goal that is from Ben. I said to you guys, Ben's going to have to carry Spurs in the next game. Now, to be honest with you, I looked at this goal and I remember scoring it and I went absolutely mental. Let me know what you guys think. But in my opinion, this is the best goal that Ben has scored in his entire career so far. I had to show you it numerous times. I looked at it from different angles. It's just the way he watches the ball all the way onto his right foot before connecting with it and hitting it off the post. What a goal it was. I mean, major credit, of course, goes to Wanyama for the ball over the top. But as Cech comes out here, just take a look at this. Drops right onto his foot. He doesn't even look where the goalkeeper is. And there it is. Lovely connection with the right boot. It's his weaker right foot as well, may I add. And that goal right there could well send Spurs into extra time to try and fight their way through the Europa League. What a goal it was from Ben. It's a top-class goal in a North London derby. It's one that's going to be remembered for a long period of time, especially if it's one that allows Spurs to go through. So for Arsenal now, what they did well at Wembley in order to get the 1-0 win has just been undone by a young Englishman with great talent. A lovely finish, lovely goal. It is 1-1 apiece in terms of the aggregate scoreline. So, of course, it means it goes to extra time and penalties from here on out if no one else scores. But Ben, all of a sudden, 3-4 minutes later, found himself in behind again. And he could have quite easily made the score 2-0 there. But his shot was sadly straight at Petr Cech. And as we move into the 58th minute now, Arsenal beginning to get themselves back in this one. Mesut Ozil here on the edge of the Spurs area, gave it off to Bellerin. Bellerin somehow finds a pass to Sanchez, completely unmarked in the middle of the box, and he should score. The Chilean there, no excuses for me. He has to score that one. It should be 1-1 in this game and 2-1 Arsenal in aggregate. So really, really lucky there that Spurs got away with that one. It was quite a lifeline, if you will. And then 64 minutes in, there's chances galore in this one. Christian Eriksen, the latest of them all. But he gets his effort straight at Petr Cech, and decent save from the Arsenal goalkeeper. Now into Arsenal's next chance of the game, Lacazette, who was a thorn in the side in the first leg. He's going to be a thorn in the side in the second there because, disappointingly for Spurs, disappointingly for Ben, I guess you can have a go at him in kind of that aspect of it. If you actually watch this back, Ben is kind of the closest man to the ball when it's fed into Lacazette, so maybe he should be picking up the French forward. So, you know, if you want to have your kind of quarrels with that one, then possibly Ben should be the man picking him up. He should be the one that's getting the blame. But I don't really think you can say too much about it because a strike from Lacazette, it's top quality. There isn't many goalkeepers in the world that would save that. So when it got to 1-1 here with 13 minutes to go in the game, you're thinking, surely not. It's not going to happen, is it? Spurs are going to go out of the Europa League. And then Ben, he lost his cool. He lost his head, and tensions were flying high. And as soon as he does that, he knew he was off. He was like, I can't believe that that's just happened. It looks like a genuine attempt to win the ball, though. If you actually look at this back, when the actual sliding tackle comes in, Mustafi was not playing the ball, and then, yeah, it's such a late tackle. It's a definite yellow card, and it is, of course, a sending off. But if you're considering that, then, you know, you're looking at it and thinking, has Ben just undone all of the hard work that he did in the second half in order to get themselves back on level terms here? And Eric Lamela had a chance to send Spurs through in the 90th minute of this Europa League, but he could only hit the post. Truly, this game was so up and down. The emotions were running high between the players. The tension's running high. In a game where Ben has quite possibly scored the goal of his career so far, he's also picked up a red card, and Spurs could have been going through with that goal there had Eric Lamela scored it in the 90th minute. So I don't know really what to make of that, because I'm sure you can't really say Arsenal have been lucky to go through because they did create chances themselves. Sanchez missing that sitter earlier on. You know, Lacazette scoring that one there. But if you look at the game and the way it was played, you have to admit you kind of feel a bit hard done by for Spurs, because they must feel as though they did everything they could to get themselves through that Europa League game there. And the truth is, they're out, regardless of whatever's happened in the game. Even if Ben has scored the greatest goal of his career so far, even if he's picked up a red card, Spurs are out of the Europa League, which means now the quadruple is not possible for Ben. It's not possible for Spurs. Commiserations to them, but of course, I guess congratulations to Arsenal. They move through in the Europa League. So for them to have a really bad season in the league, I suppose this is kind of going to make it up for them in the Europa League. But certainly speaking, I felt as though Spurs had been so hard done by in that game. Match facts wise, they were the better team in my opinion, and they probably deserved everything other than to be knocked out the way they did. So it's a very disappointing defeat. I think the game there probably should have gone to extra time, you know, make it a bit more fun for us. And of course, Ben being sent off the way he did. Never did I expect Spurs would even have the chance to win the game in the tie after Ben had been sent off, but it did happen. And Eric Lamela sadly hit the post from that one. So for now, Ben is going to start his suspension, given to him by the club, of course. 5-match ban, but he's not suspended for England duty and international duty, because of course he doesn't have a suspension by the FA. What he has got is a suspension by his club, not the FA. So you know, he could actually play, I suppose, and if he really wanted to, and if Spurs really wanted to, they could play him in the Premier League and stuff. But of course, the suspension starting means he probably will not be starting any of those games. Hopefully, he doesn't miss the one against Burnley either, because that is a big game for Spurs now, considering the fact that they are out of the Europa League. It's a big game now against Burnley to come in the semi-final of the FA Cup. So, you know, they don't want to have a situation where within, I'd say, 3 weeks, they're knocked out of the Europa League, knocked out of the FA Cup, and potentially out of the league race, depending on results, if these 5 games that Ben might miss will not go their way. But luckily for England, Ben is playing quite well when he's in England colours, and in the first 10 minutes of the game, he set up Marcus Rashford for him to score England's opener inside 10 minutes. So I suppose the red card that he got against Arsenal hasn't really impacted his performance, because he's come here, he's got his head down, and he's doing a good job for England instead. Now, you know, you got to look at it and say, that the red card he actually picked up and the suspension that he's got in that game there only applies to European games, which means he will either miss the first game of the group stage in the Champions League or the first game of the group stage in the Europa League, depending on which one Spurs get into this season. I think it's guaranteed they'll get one or the other from now on, so there is that little bit of a bonus for them to back on, but it means he will be missing the first game of that one because of his suspension. It only counts to Europa League games, the one that he picked up against Arsenal. So not including the 5-match ban that his club has given him, just that suspension there, he is going to miss one of those 2 competition games later on, probably next season now, depending on if he's still at Spurs and even if he goes to a team that's in there. So I suppose it's one of them things that he's going to have to wait and see. But you can see, guys, as he got onto some England play, he ended up assisting the only goal of the game, scored by Marcus Rashford in this one, and it meant that England would pick up a 1-0 victory. The result, though, guys, didn't have that much relevance because, truth be told, England were already through the group anyway. So, although they get the victory, although they get the 3 points, it's nice, of course, to have that. But in terms of a result, it wasn't required. England already safely through the group as group winners. Romania, I think, beat Hungary, and Wales lost to Sweden in the other games. So, in total, I think England are safely through as group winners, and I'm pretty sure Wales now can't qualify after that. There's 7 games played, you can see, and I think you play 10 in total, and I think Wales are too far down now to be able to even qualify or think of qualifying in second place. So, for them, not fantastic, but wasn't picked for the second one. Ben here against Romania. I can understand that, of course. England being through, Dele Alli gets the nod over him. Let's see if Ali can perform any better and see if England can get the 3 points on the board. Romania are the team to score first, but luckily for England, I do believe Harry Kane scores to make the score 1-1 in this game here. Of course, the Spurs forward. Matching up with Ben, but sadly, not enough to send Spurs through in the Europa League, and that is the way the game ends. So, of course, a 1-1 draw here for both, clubs. Romania, that's going to hurt them more than it hurts England, of course. It means that England still have this record of no defeats in the league. And then Ben started his 5-match suspension here for Spurs. Now, luckily, if you saw there, Burnley is actually the 6th game. So you have Ipswich, Swansea, Manchester United, Crystal Palace and Everton. Those are the 5 games that he's suspended for and will miss. So you can see us simming through the days here. Of course, Ben not being able to play in any of these ones, it's kind of depressing. But at the same time, you know, you have to look at it and say it's deserved. You know, you can't go around starting beef with your teammates. The idea of them being teammates is you all get along, and that's how you win titles, is by having good relationships with each other. So, you know, you want to make sure that you're keeping morale high and stuff. And for the other players as well, it must have been pretty annoying to have to separate it up. So after the 5 games are being played, guys, you can see I'm going to go through the results right now. The first game, we played against Ipswich. The final game there against Everton was a 3-1 win. They then went on to draw against Palace 1-1, defeated by Manchester United before beating Spurs and Ipswich anyway. Apologies if you heard my phone go off there, by the way, guys. I'm waiting for a call at the moment. That's why it's on loud. Normally it's on silent, but yeah. If you saw it, but yeah. So in terms of the Premier League title, that's how it left it. So as you can see, with 6 games remaining, Spurs are top by a point, United in second, Chelsea in third, City in fourth. There are 6 points from City to Spurs. So it's everybody's chance to win this Premier League title. It's so close going into the last 6 games of the season, guys. So my comment, and I want you guys to give me a comment today, who do you think is going to win the Premier League title at the end of this season? Spurs on 70 points, United on 69, Chelsea on 68, City on 64. So let me know, guys, in the comments below. I personally am going to make a prediction. I am going to predict that Spurs will crumble and it will not be Ben lifting a Premier League trophy in this season. I think it's going to go to one of Chelsea or United. I'm probably going to have to swing the way of United. They seem to do it when it comes to the back end of the season, so there you go. That's my prediction. I don't feel as though Ben is going to have enough, and the way that Spurs are playing right now, you know, they've got a long season. They've had a long season, and in terms of games played, you know, they've played a lot of games already, so question is, have they got enough in the tank, basically, to take this one home? So we'll see anyways, guys. I'm going to remain ambitious for Ben. I want him to do it, so I think Spurs can. But if I had to make a real prediction, I'm probably going to say Manchester United to win the title from this stage. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Anyways, as we get into this final game of today's episode, it is Burnley in the FA Cup semi-final. Luckily, Ben back for this one. As I said, he doesn't miss it. And luckily for Spurs, they get themselves a penalty kick here inside the first 11 minutes of the game. And at first, I was kind of like, this is a bit harsh, you know. Ben is actually through on goal. maybe he would have scored this. But then looking back at this, you can have no complaints with that. I just, like, why is the defender trying to go with his boot there? Why is he not going with his head? I don't know. He's lucky to not get a card. He gets just the penalty given away against him. Doesn't pick up a card from that one. Here is Harry Kane now for Spurs to step up and try and make the score 1-0. Goes to Heaton's Heaton's left. The goal's right, if you were looking from Harry Kane. And Heaton is beaten between the sticks. And that actually, I didn't even know that was going to rhyme. So credit to me anyways. But Spurs 1, Burnley 0, semi-final of this FA Cup. If Spurs can keep this up, they're going to be through to the FA Cup final. I said in the previous episode they're favourites to win it. I'm still standing by that. They are still favourites to win it, in my opinion. I think Spurs have got this one in the bag if they can play well enough and do the job that they have been doing all season. On paper, should be quite a routine game for them in that final if they can get there. But Burnley, to their credit, they did have chances. The first one coming for Ashley Barnes here, as I thought he'd actually made it 1-1 with an absolute screamer there. But luckily for us, it goes over the top of the crossbar. Now we go into the 81st minute, guys. And let me just say this. If you want I guess, lesson in passing, this is how you do it. There are so many passes involved here from Spurs. They kept the ball for so long. Wanyama giving it back to Ben. Ben then into Walker Peters. Walker Peters eventually goes inside to Harry Kane. Kane backwards. And you can see there's so many passes going on here. And somehow they kept the ball for so long without Burnley even touching it. They eventually found its way to Eriksson, who makes the score 2-0 to Spurs. And there we go. So Spurs booked their ticket in an FA Cup final. It means, of course, now Ben has a chance to do the double this season and potentially the treble if he can get the league win. Of course, we want to see Spurs. I don't really want to say that we want to see Spurs do a treble, being an Arsenal fan, but for Ben, let's say, we want to see Ben win as much as he can. In which case, with him playing at Spurs, it would be nice for them to do the treble for Ben's sake. So, as we end off the game there, guys, that is going to be how we end off today's episode. There will be an ability, or there will, sorry, what am I talking about? There will be a moment when you can check out who has made it to that FA Cup final. Also, you can check out the league table just before we briefly go. But just before we go as well, guys, I want to say massive thank you for all of your support on the channel so far. You guys are amazing with all the likes that you give for this series. I know you guys love it as well. So I'll try my best to keep it going as much as I possibly can. In regards to the Ultimate Team series and stuff and the career mode, those may frequent or feature less frequent on the channel just because of real life situations and stuff going on. So I don't have as much time to be able to record those videos. So I have to prioritize this series as well, being the most favorite on the channel. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I will see you all again tonight at 6 PM UK time for yet another video. I'll catch you all then, guys. Adios.